Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Bridges of Belief. I am joined by
Kevin Paulraj.
Joshua Coach Badu.
Poya, Heidari, Shahi, and today we have one of the coolest people we know, a
That's
dating
right, we're
coach extraordinaire.
Jessica Santosa Carlton, also known as Dateability.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so terrible. Why did they get me to host this? I don't know.
You're fine,
Anyway,
Poya.
I'm so awkward.
You're
Anyway,
fine.
The people at home love it. There you go, some comedy for you
You're
whenever
fine.
you listen to this. I was going to say a Monday night, but it could be a Tuesday. So we got Jess here to talk about all things related to Christian dating. We've had her on before, but there's always more to unpack. There's always more reasons why Christian men and women are single and complaining about it and pointing the finger at each other. So we're going to get to the bottom of that. So first question we got for you, Jess, is that you talk a lot about romantic intelligence. And I think this is your term, right? That you
Yeah.
coined.
Yeah.
Can you break that down and why it's crucial for men?
Romantic intelligence is basically what to do at every stage of dating. So, for example, a man is in his church foyer and he sees a cute girl across the hall getting coffee. And romantic intelligence in that moment would be him walking across the room to start a conversation with her. That he has the confidence, that he has the knowledge of what to do, that he doesn't sort of second guess himself or let his anxiety get in the way. Or it might be about how to engage her in conversation when he does get a number, how to number close even before that. It could be how he leans in for the kiss for the first time, or the nuances of what to do when she takes too long to respond to a message. That's why it's important for men in a nutshell. It's important for women as well for obvious reasons. I think there is a way, the Lord's way, that he has set up for men and women to pursue romance with each other and what is probably the thing of fairy tales. But largely, I believe in romantic intelligence so much, especially in this day and age, just because a really clear what's at stake here sticking point is the fact that the birth rate is plummeting across the globe. And women and men are getting further and further away from each other because they don't have romantic intelligence or they don't believe in partnership between men and women anymore. And I'm feeling very sad about that. I'm feeling very much like my job is more important than ever.
Can I ask Jess, why? Because I feel like in the church we hear a lot about marriage. This is how you need to show up in marriage, and this is how you need to be a husband or a wife. But why is everything that you just talked about, going up, speaking to her, how you engage a conversation, why is that not talked about that much in church? I
actually don't think that pastors... I have a lot of empathy for pastors because they have a huge job. Like you said to me on an interview that we did together, the pastor's highest value is being the pastor of a church, right?
Yeah.
He needs to feed the flock. He needs to feed the flock, correct theology. He needs to inspire them to read their Bible, for them to come back next week. So it's style before substance initially, especially to the new Christians. So there's sort of he doesn't really have the time or the space or the jurisdiction to focus on dating skills. It's a really specialized knowledge that I hope I have after 10 years of doing this, that a few people out there have this niche as well, and yourself included. But I think that pastors, they probably are prolonging a lot of the single men in their ministries. They're prolonging their singleness without even knowing, and it's not really their fault.
They're just not aware.
They're just not aware.
But the thing, it's still the thing is, yes, for sure, from the pastor, but it still kind of feels like a taboo topic, though. Like, why else do you think it feels like a taboo topic?
It's embarrassing.
Okay, tell me more. Tell me more about why. Yeah.
People have a really wrong theology about getting married. Like, I would say 80% of people who jump on a love readiness assessment with me, which is, something I offer for free, but a lot of them say, look, hey, I'm 35, it hasn't happened by now, so maybe God doesn't want me to be single. And I'm like, that's not even biblical. Like, Ruth positioned herself to be found by her kinsman redeemer Boaz. Or Abraham sent his servant to find Isaac, his son, a wife, and that servant found Rebecca. Or Jacob in, I think it was Genesis 29, or maybe I'm getting my scripture mixed up. But Jacob saw Rachel and thought she was fine, in form, and she's a beautiful woman, and I'm going to work 7 years for Laban.
She must have been really finding form.
Exactly.
Really finding form.
That's a good line to like use with a girl at church. Just go up to be like, "You're very fun of I've worked 7 years for you."
I'll work 7 years for you, and then he gets tricked by Laban
Gets tricked.
into marrying Leah, the one with the weak eyes, which is code for she was the uglier sister. Sorry, Leah. I'm so
Yes.
sorry.
Leah got screwed.
That's a vibe
And
I
then
got from
some-
Leah too.
He
Yeah.
ends up working 14 years for her. That is a very active theology. That's a very active thing. There's 3 examples in the Bible. People being very active about finding a spouse. So I don't know where Christians get this. Well, maybe I'm just not meant to be single. And there's this, you know how like there are certain things in Christian culture or in church culture that get perpetuated over years and years and years.
Yeah.
Things like, oh, you know, I'm going to be running towards God, and then I'm going to turn to my left, and there he will be, or there she will be, and that'll be my wife. People take this as gospel, and I'm like, that's not in the Bible.
Here's what I think though. But sometimes this is the difficulty. Sometimes it happens like that.
Yeah, but
so people then go, oh well, it happened there, so it's gonna happen. So it's gonna always happen.
And
And I think that's the problem.
There's a lot of testimonies like that as well, where like the pastor say like, "Oh, this is how I met
My
my significant
wife."
other."
Yes.
And then people start to look at that as like the norm rather
Yes.
than maybe as an exception or just that's just a unique
That
case
is
study.
that's big. That's exactly what you're saying. This is what the pastor
It's
do.
actually
Like, oh well,
kinda
this
scary,
is
'cause
yep.
This goes into misinformation, right? You
Yes.
can create any narrative you want based on the information you share. So if you get a bunch of people with those stories on a pulpit,
Yeah.
that's what everyone thinks the narrative is. We see that in
That's
the media,
exactly
we see that
right.
with politics, we see that
Yeah.
with everything. So the fact that's happening in church is kind of scary to me.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
I also just say that pastors have gotten there because of their social skills. Or else they wouldn't be the pastors. They wouldn't know how to yield their influence over other people.
Don't know if that's the
And
case for the
so-
Anglican church, but
Like, through pure merit, like
Yeah.
scholarly merit, obviously.
they don't have many social skills there. Oof, sorry.
I don't know. I know, contested point, but kind of true. But most pastors, they have social skills, applied social skills, which the Red Pillars call game, applied game.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Oh,
that-
the red pill. I
well,
can't wait
this
to get
is-
into that with you.
I can't wait to get into that as well. Because, anyway, so much that I want to say about that already. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that pastors, they don't have the time, the jurisdiction, the specialized knowledge. They have too many other priorities with leading a huge congregation. A lot of pastors lead congregations of 1,000 people at least, especially in our city of Sydney. How would they have the time to teach socially awkward single men how to pick up women? It feels like, what do you call it? There's something that the little people should do, and maybe I'm the little people. Helping this people.
Well, good on you, because I feel like it really needs to happen. Because how I know is because these are things that people won't go to a pastor and ask, but they'll come to their friends like me and be like, "Oh, I don't know how to speak to her. I don't know how." So they're all suffering, but they don't know who to go and chat to, so they'll chat to their friends, and that's why it's perfect what you're actually doing. So we'll get into that more. But yeah, go on,
Yeah,
Poya.
I'm curious just on this topic. Do you have any do you have any examples of ways men are terrible with women at church? I guess the reason I'm asking, I wonder if this is because we're from different church traditions. I'm from
Yep.
more of a, I go to a Sydney Anglican church, even though it's pretty much Pentecostal, which is why I feel free to dig into the Anglican church because anyway, ownership, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of problems. We've talked about this, a lot of problems you mentioned, Josh. I feel like within your church traditions. So I wonder if there is like a difference there. I don't know. I'm just curious.
You mean in regards to different
Because
denominations?
I don't know if I see that in my denomination as much. I feel like people just ask each other out, but yeah, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah,
Is this
people.
an Anglican denomination?
I know what you would think like social skills, what, but yeah, no, like they ask people out. Like people, that's pretty common. I don't know many guys who are bad. The only guys I know who are bad with women are usually men who have really poor mental health, and are maybe have some, like maybe might be on the spectrum. But even then, some guys on the spectrum do really well. So there's also that. It's a really weird thing. I find a lot of it's like poor mental health. So I'm wondering, is that also the case in your, or is that like a whole different thing you're talking about? Yeah.
I love that you say that the men in your experience, in your community, are asking women out. Like on the large part, you're seeing more action happening than less action happening. And the ones with poor mental health, they're probably a minority, yes?
Yeah.
Right? I think that is music to my ears to hear.
Yeah.
There was a community I was part of when I was in my 20s and single, where I had sort of like been in there and influenced them enough that the guy started asking the women out, and if it didn't work out with them, no beef. It was fine. And then he would move on to another woman to like ask her out for coffee, and I thought that was great. I have been I have been trolling Reddit. I do. Not trolling Reddit, trolling as in
Patrolling?
Reddit.
Yeah.
Monitoring?
I do. They call Reddit the heart of the internet for a reason. But I, looking on the Christian dating subreddit, and somebody had said, no woman dreams that her future husband had asked out 3 women in the same community before her.
That woman's going to be a cat lady.
Like, as in,
Oh my
she
God.
But
doesn't feel special
that is a
anymore.
good point though. Like if you did hear like, hey, I asked out Betty and Suzanne and Janet, and then finally I came to you, and now we live happily ever
well, you know
after.
what?
Hey, you're fourth, baby.
You know what? This,
Then you're the fourth
You are my
best part.
fourth.
this ties
You're
into
the
You're my
best
one. You're my
part.
fourth.
That would it would take away a bit of the the magic
The
of.
glitter and the yeah.
But at the same time, at least it's practical.
But you can-
say
can-
it's practical.
But you can say that as a guy, because I've had this conversation with women before, and I'm like, I was just wrong about the other ones. You know, God opened my
They're all
eyes.
just practice for you.
So I've
I've been practicing.
I have something to say about this gentleman, because a lot of women listening to this will not agree with this at all. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
understand, I mean, Josh knows because he is the male coach for dateability, but the farmer archetype, the guy who friendship dates a woman for years and then finally says, actually, I was in love with you this whole time, we've been friends. She's like, what? You're in love with me? Great, let's get married. So a lot of guys think that that method works, and obviously it backfires, and there's such high investment. Anyway, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is there's so much reputational damage for men that they don't want to pee in the cave where they sleep, which sounds awful, I know. But where else are they going to learn? They need social lubrication. They need to get rid of the gunk of their social abilities, right? And that's a direct quote from you.
I said that.
You said that. But
Yeah.
where else are they going to learn? But in social community.
I've had this
And
conversation.
it's gonna be in church. Sorry, you go.
Oh no, you go.
I'm not.
No, I've had this conversation with both Christian men and women, and I had this conversation with a male friend, and he's like, well, yeah, that is that reputational thing, and I'm like, who cares? Why do you have to let it bother you?
Wow.
Do the Kanye thing. Not that don't do the Kanye thing, especially after recently. That's not what I meant. I meant just do the thing. It's just like be defiant.
Yeah.
Be like, I don't care. So what if I ask her out? Am I not allowed to ask her out? Like,
Yeah, okay.
what do you expect me to do? Maybe don't say it like that. Be more gentle.
That is the thing
But-
you should do. It's just unfortunate
just
that
like-
social rejection is like one of the biggest fears humans have. So like they will,
Yeah.
if they know that their community is going to reject them, they will just do whatever it takes to avoid that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you kind of stand in defiance of that, after a while, people kind of will just accept that that's who you are, and they won't have an issue with it. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but
Yep, I agree.
yeah.
Sorry, some personalities would be more fine with that than others.
And that's probably the right girl for you. That's
Yeah.
probably
Wait.
that's the thing. You're probably gonna find your match by doing that, right? Like
Yeah.
a woman who's well adjusted. Yeah, I'll say I think a woman who's well adjusted and mentally, emotionally mature, mentally healthy would be like, yeah, that's just what you do. Doesn't say anything about me. It's just he just happened to meet me this time, asked me out at this time. It has nothing to do with my value, and cool. And that means they're the right person for you. And I don't think I think a lot of women see it as like, oh, it means I wasn't good enough to ask these other guys. But I don't know. For me, sometimes it's like I just know this girl better, so I have more of a indication that I think it could work. And if she says no, it means it was never going to work. And so it's more just from a pragmatic sense. But I understand the emotional side, I guess. Like you don't want to feel like the last pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
We
guess-
have like a vision, like an ideal vision of how we want our lives to go, which is like
Yeah.
I was the first pick, and he was the only person. I was the only person he had eyes for, and when we were dating, it was like everything went well, and the sun was setting and all that kind of amazing stuff. But in reality, it's always a lot messier how things go down than what we expect.
I guess it's Hollywood, right? Hollywood screws us a bit.
Yeah, Disney screwed us up a bit. Hollywood screwed us up a bit. Because Poya, the example you gave of like your Anglican church and people just openly asking each other out, in a lot of the churches I've been at, has been the opposite of how people react to asking someone out. As an example, like even recently, I had a friend who had asked out a girl. They were seeing each other for a while. It didn't work out, and instead of them amicably going their separate ways and like the church saying, okay, it just didn't work out, whatever. Like slowly, you had like a division within the church off of that breakup. And before you know it, they started to say we need to implement new rules for how to make sure this doesn't happen again. So it's almost like the fear of there being bad breakups makes them say, let's be even more conservative, more careful, more cautious, put up more guardrails about
Which creates more taboo.
Which creates more taboo, which creates guys feeling less open to asking out someone. And I feel like that, to me, I feel like that has permeated through church culture more than the other one that you're referring to, Poya.
I just want to say that men feel safer having a go and experimenting on dating apps, on secular dating apps, than in their own church community. Because these are my sisters in Christ. I've got to protect these.
Yeah, that's sad.
These are special women that are preserved, and the women on dating apps are the ones that I can actually play with. Like not
Practice
in a,
with,
not in a sexual, awful way, but in a get rid of the
I can
guilt of
interact
my
with
social
this
skills.
world. Yeah.
And try and fail.
There's room to make mistakes.
Yeah.
There's room to make mistakes.
Exactly. It's a lot more forgiving for men. And given the men that I coach who are 30s, 40s, they are at that stage where, or they've explored the possibility with some women in their church community and they've just decided, no, I'm not interested in any of these women, so I'm going to go elsewhere, but it's also safer for that. And I know a lot of men, for a fact, would rather go and experiment with women on dating apps than in their own church community. It is safer. It is.
So look what it does. It's funny, eh? When you think of what the taboo and then the Hollywood and all it creates. But it's more business for you.
Yeah, speaking of which, and this will probably be a very unpopular statement, but I say to the men, so I've got 5 men in my cohort right now that I'm the matchmaker for, and I said to my newest client, I'm essentially the business development manager for your love life, right?
Yeah.
Like generating leads for a new business.
Yeah.
Like, there's no emotion attached to the first date. Call her up. Will you go on a date with me? Like, obviously engage her in conversation. Don't just like go up to a random woman at McDonald's and be like, would you like to go on a date with me? You don't know her.
You got to have a proper sales funnel.
There you go.
Spoken like a true salesperson. Get her in the pipeline. Take her through the landing page,
Hey, but as a Christian, you can only have one in the pipeline.
Okay, so that's another thing.
Sitting plates. Yeah.
Because I think there's a few unspoken rules when it comes to Christian dating that, or maybe it's not unspoken, but like I think dating one person at a time is one of those cultural norms. Like I've had an experience where someone I was seeing quite a while back, and I was like to them, I believe in being able to date multiple people until you both agree, let's be mutually exclusive, and I'll be transparent with you about it. Like I'm not hiding anything. That way you can decide whether you're willing to still see me or not. And the way she responded, which is her right, was she was very taken back by it. And I think it's something that I feel you also, at least from our conversations and what we've seen as well, like out in the field, a lot of females feel that way. Maybe a question to you guys: how do you think most guys would feel about hearing someone that was open to seeing other guys even while she was seeing you?
I wouldn't feel good about it at all. But so the funny thing is, I've had most of the women I know are more okay with that than the men.
Wow.
So most of the women I know are like, no, I see multiple guys at once.
What's
and
going
for
on in
me,
the Anglican church? Y'all just...
No, this was a Pentecostal girl, actually.
Oh.
No, it was Anglican church. But sorry, this is what I meant to say. I actually screwed up something with a girl once. No, I won't shout her out. She might be listening. I don't know, maybe. She listened to the first episode, I think. But I met her on an app, and on the 3rd date, I meant to say, do you want to just I said, do you want to be exclusive but not official, where it's like we just pause the apps? Because I was anxious she was seeing other guys. So I just already went in with that assumption. and she ended up being like, I need to pray about it. And I think it killed it because then like the next 2 days later at midnight, she's like, oh, this won't work romantically for me.
Right.
And everyone I talked to was like, that was a dumb move. But so I guess to answer your question, for me, it creates a lot of anxiety. Because it's like, I'm competing against these other guys. What if they're taller than me? What if they make more money than me? They're better looking. They're more charismatic.
But Poya,
like-
isn't another factor like the stage at which like it's all happening? You know what I mean?
It depends on the investor.
Because it depends on the stage
that's
as well, right?
For sure. And I think my issue was I'd be overly invested, and that's something I've worked on. But I think there's another element where it's the physical element, right? Because like, I don't know. I feel like men are a bit funny about. Let's say you're seeing a girl. Is she like? I'm just gonna be honest. Like, is she making out with these guys? Like, how far is she going if she's seen multiple guys?
Yeah.
And because men are more, I guess.
Idealistic?
Sorry?
Possessive? Sorry.
Possessive. That's right. I didn't want to say, but yeah, no, that's it. Like, that's only what I can think of. And maybe that's a toxic thing. I don't know. But I think that territorial. That's it. We're very territorial.
Don't come onto my
So I think the
property,
idea, the idea of like seeing a girl and especially if you haven't like kissed her yet and then thinking she's making out with these other guys, it creates like all these weird things. That's just what goes on through my head.
I mean, there's
I don't know. I come from I've accepted that that's competitions everywhere. You can't avoid it. Therefore, you just have to be willing to give it your best shot. And obviously, I believe in divine intervention. I believe in the fact that if someone's for you, like God will coordinate things to make sure that that is what wins out in the end. So even though I can understand the anxiety around knowing someone's dating multiple people. Like obviously if you're into them and you know that you're not exclusive and they are seeing other people, that will create anxiety. I get that. Maybe I'm just always reminding myself that's part of the game. Like,
I always say to my women that men are competitive by nature, so use that to your advantage. I mean, kind of like the way Rollo Tomasi, you know, the godfather of the Red Pill, writes in The Rational Male, you know, spin plates, as in date multiple women at once. And obviously he's not speaking from a Christian perspective. So I don't feel offended when I read those sentences about spinning plates, dating multiple women, because I understand that there's a bro code. Like, he's a guy talking to other guys, trying to advise other guys.
Just really quickly, Jess, could you define red pill for us?
Sure, okay. So everyone's seen The Matrix, yes?
Yep.
Okay, so the red pill is basically the truth. So the assumption is that everyone is taking the blue pill, which is not the truth. And they're sort of in a perpetual cycle of ignorance of a life that's actually not working out for them. And I would say in this context of intersexual dynamics, which is a catch-all term for the dating market, some people call it the sexual market, which sounds really crude, I know, but it's really synonymous with the dating market. So I'm just going to use the dating market as a term. But the blue pill are things that happen like reverse polarity between men and women. So the wife being a lot more masculine and the husband being a lot more feminine, to the point that it confuses sons and daughters that you raise, or like women being the mental point of origin for men, when really a lot of people won't agree with this, that's fine, but my husband is the leader of our family. He's the father, he's the husband, he's the head of the family. And if he said, babe, we're going to move to Perth because I got a job there, I'd be like, okay, we're uprooting everything, goodbye everyone. I would follow exactly where he went because he's the leader. And I do that because I love, respect and trust my husband completely. But feminist culture has infiltrated our society so much that that's what Rollo Tomasi refers as being blue-pilled, or blue-pilled beta. So taking the red pill means that you believe in the truth, which I would say pertains to, I guess, going against gynocentrism, like going against the femme-centric culture, where the man is the mental point of origin, more traditional roles of like men having headship in the family, women submitting to the leadership of the husband, but not in a like, I'm oppressed and I can't think of myself, think for myself sort of way, but because he's the one that will die for us. Like, I'm okay to not be at the center of the narrative if it means I don't have to die for my family. My husband will do the dying. Thank you very much.
He'll go fight in the war.
He'll go fight in the war. And I did a reel recently on positive patriarchy. Like, women go, oh, I don't need men, men suck. Yeah, we don't need men. And like there's all these quotes about it, like The Toxic War of Masculinity by Nancy Pearcey, which we talked about in a previous podcast. But like patriarchy is the reason why we live in a safe and comfortable society today. So I don't get offended at a wedding when the pastor says, and now they are man and wife, you may kiss the bride. Like, I'm okay with that. Because if we ever go to war with Russia, I don't want to be conscripted. I don't want to be a woman. I don't want my daughters to get conscripted. And I don't like that my sons get conscripted either. But they are bigger, stronger, biologically, you know.
I was reading a book called The Way of the Superior Man. Who's have you guys read it? Yeah,
Data. Tell me about it. Yeah.
So he paints a picture, almost like a Hollywood picture, right, of a scene where the husband is called out to battle, and it's a beautiful scene of like, I want you to stay here, and he's like, I want to be here, but I gotta go, I gotta fight, right? And it's a beautiful kind of Hollywood scene, and he kind of twists it around, and then she looks at him, and she kind of, you know, she's crying, and she's seeing him at the door, and he's leaving, and he just goes, but imagine that he just goes, you know what? I like the comfort. I'm gonna come back and stay with you. How does that make you feel inside as a woman? You know, and I think that shows us that subconsciously there is something written on our hearts that shows us that down to the DNA level that something's wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Actually, this ties into the next question I wanted to ask.
You go for it,
Just
Poya.
trying to figure out how to articulate it. So, there's one way I can ask this.
Okay.
The more inflammatory way is, why do women lie all the time?
Ooh.
Second, but really what I'm trying to ask is, no offense, ladies, I love you all. Yeah, hit me up on Instagram. You're single.
Slide into my DMs, ladies.
Yeah, I got money and stuff. I go to the gym occasionally. No, what I actually wanted to ask, and that was just me being in jest in all seriousness. You've cracked my question is, you've cracked the code on Christian women speak. So I guess, like, can you give us, I guess we've kind of gone to, but can you talk more about, like,
Okay.
women say they want a certain thing, but what do they actually mean? It's the whole thing of, like, I don't want you to go to war, but if he doesn't go, she's like, oh.
Oh, I don't respect you anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sexually attracted to you anymore. Yeah.
I want you to open up to me, but then I'm getting dry. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Whoa.
This is a Christian podcast.
I really want to draw on one particular example that I think encompasses a lot. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of Warren Farrell right now, who wrote The Myth of Male Power and The Boy Crisis. As a mum of two boys, I'm very, very invested, as you all know. My skin is in the game for all that kind of stuff. Some women say, oh, it's just all about kindness, and I just want a man who's vulnerable. I want a man who's vulnerable. What she really means, this is what she really means. She really means that in the ratio of shows of his strength versus shows of his vulnerability or / weakness, she wants the ratio of shows of his strength to be higher than shows of vulnerability. If we were to give it a really a clear example, it would be for every show of vulnerability, there must be 3 shows of strength. So when I say a show of strength, I mean like he can solve problems competently and confidently. He
Protect.
He can protect her from the lion. Like if there's a mugger on the street, he puts his body in front of her to protect her. He doesn't freak out. He's unflappable. He's more emotionally resilient.
He's poised.
That's what she actually means. And I want to just land this plane because this is really interesting. When a man is too vulnerable with a woman, he risks losing her respect.
Oh, this is such a good answer. This is brilliant. This is a brilliant answer. Go on.
This is why when women say, oh, I want a man who's vulnerable. Okay, so the ratio, that's the first thing she actually means. But she's not aware of this.
So just, are you saying that what she's actually saying is that there is too much of this and there's not enough of this?
Yes.
So I just want a better balance.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Most women are not aware of this. I wasn't even aware of this until Warren Farrell told me.
Yes.
And the ratio thing works out because...
Oh, wow, this is such a good answer.
The Gottmans, John and Julie,
Yep.
they talk about how when a couple wants to get divorced, it's because the ratio of negative experiences together outweighs the positive experiences. So I was actually thinking of this in the car over the way here. I was like, yes, because every time Tom and I, my husband and I, have a fight, we're like, it's all good. Like, no matter how bad it is, we've had so many positive experiences together that will flood my memory of him. That's anchored into me from an NLP point of view. It's anchored into me. How great he is, what a great husband he is, how many times we've actually grown deeper in love because of our conflict resolution. So with the vulnerability thing, every time a man shows vulnerability but not enough shows his strength, she loses respect for him, or he risks her losing respect for him.
Wow.
So I was coaching my client the other day, my male client, and he was like, I don't know why she's not into me. I'm loyal, I'm dependable, she can tell me anything. Why is she with that other guy? And I said, she doesn't perceive you as higher status. That is why. She adores you, she loves you, she trusts you, but she doesn't feel like when it comes down to it, you can provide and protect for her.
And love and respect are different things, right?
Yes, and she's not sexually attracted to you for that reason. And so I know that sounds really sexist to some people, but it's true. And it's true. My husband has shown me plenty of displays of vulnerability, but he's shown me way more displays of strength. He's the most unflappable person when it comes to problem solving. He doesn't freak out like I do.
Yeah,
He
he's
definitely
emotionally a
protect me.
rock. He doesn't. Yeah.
Yes, he's very emotionally stable, and so that has definitely hummed in the background of our marriage, and it's become unconscious for me. Like it's part of the psyche of how I see him. He can't undo that, no matter how many shows of vulnerability he shows me.
Okay, so now to go deeper on the emotional, unflappability kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, so you're saying it's almost like, what would that look like? Because to a certain degree, Lisa would just vulnerably change. She's like, oh, she said to me, oh, you don't really share with me your emotions. You don't tell me what's going on, that type of thing. So we've worked through a lot of that stuff, right? But then sometimes I think to myself, but there are moments where I do feel like falling apart, but then obviously you hear this advice, like never fall apart in front of your women. Stuff like that. So it's like, is there, what would appropriately falling apart look like?
But you know how I said there are way more shows of strength that Tom has shown me. That even if
it's just ratio.
It's just ratio. Really.
Yeah, that's good. That's such a good answer.
Is it just ratio?
I love that though. That's it's a clean, because it's so true.
No, but I feel like there's more. Wait, Josh, you go first.
I have to say, I know saying it's just ratio, I agree, but at the same time, there's a way to not fall apart. I feel like if you started falling apart,
that's right.
You're bawling your eyes out. You're like, I don't know what we're gonna do, baby. Just becoming extra feminine in front of your girl. You tell me that's.
But you know what that will do? That'll just break the ratio, because this just overpowers all of this.
Is it? No, it's been.
Sorry,
it's been
say
half
it again.
now.
So this will this one of vulnerability is so overpowering it'll destroy all the shows of strength.
So is it based off quantity or quality?
I think there's another factor. I think it's how you fall apart as well.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a difference between what you... Do you want to just do another demonstration? It was beautiful.
No,
that was like Oscar.
I had one in me.
All right, it's
I had one in me.
There's a difference between to
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought this up.
I'm gonna figure it out, but it's like...
Yeah.
There's a different... I think that's the thing. It's like, I don't know what to do versus I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what I've noticed when I've expressed that to different women I've dated. When I've done the whole I know I'm going to be okay, but it feels awful now. And I'm even I'm having tears running down my face. I get a little turned on. What's up? But I'm not going to go as crass as Kevin did. That's okay. That's a pretty funny joke.
She doesn't want to think that she's going to steer the ship.
That's it, yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Because every time my husband has shown me vulnerability, he gets right back up again. I'm like, babe, don't you want to sleep? He has a medical condition. And every time he falls, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh no. But I never ever think, oh no, I've now got to steer the ship. I'm the one who has to be the man. I never ever think that. I've never thought that in our 6 years of marriage.
Yeah.
Or the 9 years we've been together. Never ever thought that. He's always been the man. And I relish in taking care of him. But also Adam Lane Smith, the guy who... the attachment expert guy, he says that he would never show his wife when he's scared, because I think he fears risking her respect. Like, he doesn't want to lose her respect. And he also doesn't want her to think, oh, I've got to steer the ship now. I'm going to leave this marriage.
I think
That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
This-
You've just opened up a Pandora's box there.
Because I have another thought on that. It's like, I agree with all of that, but I wonder if even the fear thing, it's like, could you admit you're scared, but you're going to do it anyway?
Yeah, that's courage.
Because
100%.
there's a Game of Thrones quote
Yeah.
where it's, what is it? A man can only be brave when he's afraid.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with
yeah,
that. Yeah.
I wonder, is it yeah.
He's honest, but he's competent.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what she wants to
that's a
see
good way
him
to put it.
toggling between. Like, he can fall down, but he gets back up again. He's emotionally resilient, and more emotionally resilient than her. That's what.
That's yes, more emotionally resilient than
Would
her.
you also
Yeah.
say that because guys, maybe we kind of swing too far to one side in fearing that if we show any kind of emotion to our partner that she's not going to respect us. Maybe we've gone too far to that side, and there is an element of we do need to show more, but still, keep it together. But I also think to myself that guys do need someone that they can kind of fall apart in front of.
Of course.
Yeah.
In
Yes,
those
of course.
cases,
Yeah.
is this kind of a time to challenge our mindset to say your partner isn't the person you're meant to actually fall apart in front of? Maybe that's something you need to take to God. Like, is it in those secret
Or a
place
friend.
moments,
Yep.
or a friend,
Yep.
whereas
The
like
wolf pack. Yeah.
for the wolf pack,
Yeah.
no, where those are the people that actually you can release and show, I guess true vulnerability to, but it's not really meant for your partner.
I think it's just it's maintaining that ratio, and if this helps you maintain the ratio, then yeah. Don't you reckon? Like, that's the way, the best way to see it?
But imagine making that a formal thing, like a formal principle. Like, hey, as a guy, you shouldn't ever fully fall apart in front of your partner. Does that make it feel like she never actually sees the most raw version of you?
I wonder if it's a
So
mindset thing.
challenging.
I would say, should you even be in a relationship if you can't have a mindset of I'll be okay and like stick to that? Do you know what I mean?
Wait, go on. What do you mean?
So like, let's say the previous examples of falling apart. Both the first example where it's like, I don't know what to do, is a mindset of I don't know if I'll be okay. The second where it's like I'm crying, like you're weeping, but you're like I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna do this. Is a mindset of you're gonna be okay.
Yep.
I feel like if you're gonna be in a relationship, and not that you have to be perfect, but I feel like if I wanted to be a husband and a father, I would need to be consistent in that I'm gonna be okay mentality. Because then I feel like I'm being deceptive if I don't feel like I'm going to be okay and I hide that from my partner.
Yes, that's
And
very true.
I feel like that personally doesn't sit well with me. And I think in those moments, I guess I don't know. I wonder if, for your perspective, Jess, if the ratio is right, are there moments where the woman could step in and be like, "I believe in you. I know you can do this," which would then ignite his. Because like I don't know, I've watched I think it's in one of the Rocky movies. He's like, I don't know if I can do this, Adrian's his wife. And she's like, no, you can do it, Rocky. And because he's had that ratio good, that one time where he's really doubting himself, she believes in him and that reignites his fire.
Yep.
Yeah. Can I just say?
Yeah.
Also, Alex and Layla Hormozy, beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
But I want to say that it's not so much that he falls apart in front of her, that he risks losing her respect. It's more that he falls apart and he's like, oh, be my mummy. Can you can you steer the ship? Can you make all the money? Can you do everything? And basically for him to become another child for her to look after. That's what women are afraid of. Whereas if he falls apart and then goes, I'm going to get some help. I'm going to join rehab, or I'm going to get a counselor. I'm
Determination.
Gonna do this, He then outsources help, and she's like, she can see him hustling to solve his own problem, rather than putting it on her, his wife or girlfriend, to solve the problem for him.
Yeah.
Is that
That's so good.
That's so good.
Yes.
It's so
it's a
good.
bit more empowering to men to hear that.
I honestly,
Yeah.
like, until this conversation, I didn't feel like there was a rock hard answer to that whole question. But that ratio, that makes so much. That's so rock hard. It's such a good answer. It makes so much sense. And if people understood, bro, why haven't I heard that before? Like, that's so
Yeah,
brilliant.
You should have had Jess on earlier.
Yeah. Now, Jess, it's a really good model. It really makes sense.
Thank you. But yeah, Warren Farrell also says that. Is it Warren Farrell or was it Rollo Tomasi? I think it's Rollo.
It's Colin
He says-
Farrell.
He says that, you know,
Yeah.
women have this magical feminine intuition. He does sort of take the PISS out of women, and he says, you know, women actually just want men to come to them and show them the peek behind the curtain of their masculinity. Like she wants to like see this alpha male get really hot for him, and then when they get emotionally closer together, he then reveals a vulnerability that he only reveals just to her, and then she feels really special, and that's what she means by vulnerability.
He opens the curtain. He's like, hey, but the ratio's too bad now. The ratio's. hey, let me check. The ratio's good. But it makes so much sense. Like practically speaking,
Oh
it
my
makes
God.
like it's interesting that you brought up Alex and Layla Hamezi because most of the time you see them really. He's always really strong. He's always emotionally resilient. She always talks about it.
Yeah.
But then on one podcast,
Yeah, I know.
you know exactly
yeah,
what I'm
I
saying.
know the story you're going.
And then
Yeah.
he goes, basically, he lost everything. And there's a moment where he's like, I would understand if, you leave me. And in that moment, she was just like, I'm not leaving you.
She said
I'm
I'd
staying
sleep
with
under
you.
a bridge.
I'd sleep under a bridge for you. Yeah. And that made him go, wow. But once again, the ratio is right.
Yeah.
Right?
Because
that's that once in the world.
Well, he'd proven his chops to her, right? He'd proven that he's the man that knows how to get back up again.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
I have a business idea. An app to track your ratio.
Yeah, the app's like, yeah, fam, you can't be vulnerable today.
Christian dating.
That is so good.
That is genius. Just the app lets you
Oh,
know, like, nah,
goodness.
you've been too vulnerable lately.
Yeah, it's like, don't
tighten it up.
No, we can put it into the Neuralink and put it in the brain and automatically.
It just shocks you, like, not today, not
I bet
today.
you
not
Elon
today.
Musk is listening to this right now. He's like,
Elon's like,
That's so
we should
good.
pay them that before.
Can I just say, on the flip side, to the female listeners, if your man disappears for a few days, that is probably why, because he's trying to get his ratio back.
and let him
to balance
disappear.
again.
Yeah, he's
Let
definitely
him
not in
Let him
Vegas
disappear.
drinking excessively. Go to.
Actually, can you maybe speak to this? How guys versus females tend to deal with conflict? I've heard the stereotype that guys, when something's heavy, when something's contentious, they need time to kind of isolate themselves to process the
Go in the
information
cave, yeah.
and then come back again. While females tend to want to discuss it in the moment.
Everything out on the table.
Is this something you've also seen yourself from your experience, and what are your thoughts on that?
John Gray made that popular in Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And I agreed with it just because anecdotally it's true for me. Maybe anecdotally that's not the right word. But personally that's true for me. I'm definitely classically feminine temperament. I want to get everything out on the table, whereas my husband's classically masculine temperament and just wants to shut down for a few days. And so during conflict he would stonewall me. He just wouldn't want to talk. So we had to agree to, especially when we have conflict during a road trip in the car and you're stuck together, which is very awkward. You guys have this massive fight.
You're like, this is my advantage. We're figuring this out right now.
But he agreed to hold, like, at least reach out and touch my thigh while we were still angry at each other. And I would agree to shut up for like at least an hour.
Found that middle ground.
We found some middle ground, but it took us ages to get there. Ages. It's very hard to resolve conflict. And this is why I'm so passionate about slow courtship and making sure you have that fight, make up again, and actually like grow deeper in love as you resolve conflict as a couple. Very important to get right before you get married.
Yeah.
I have a question,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't. No, you know what? I'm going to say it because I don't think actually something is wrong with it.
Yeah.
Why do you think? And if you're not comfortable answering this, you don't have to. But I have found, making up is very hot. Like
Yeah.
after a fight.
Yeah.
Why is that the case in relationships? It's just like personal curiosity.
I'm going to take some notes.
I think it's like, oh, I just lost my boo and now I've got him back again. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's that primal feeling of
Primal.
yeah, like
It's
just,
primal is the word, bro. yeah.
You had some primal moments, Kevin.
Although I don't know if it is that way for my husband and I. We're just like, are we friends again? Yeah, okay. All right, I love you. All right.
Oh, that's cute.
It's more
That's still
sweet
cute.
for
Cute.
us.
Isn't it more vulnerability? I heard someone say it was like because you're being vulnerable.
And also,
Yeah.
It was your mate.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe the hotness, the primal thing is because you've just shown more, I guess, dimensions of your prism to each other. Like you've just revealed more sides to each other, and you've learned more about each other. I always talk about the story that Tom and I had when we were engaged. I drove because we lived an hour apart, and obviously we didn't live together, didn't sleep together before we were married, and drove an hour to see him, and there was no food in his fridge. And I thought, he doesn't love me. There's no food in his
Oh,
fridge.
no
I
way.
literally conflated food with love, right? You've heard the story so
I've
many
heard the
times.
story. I love the
But-
story.
Yeah. But we started fighting about it, and he was like, just because I don't have food doesn't mean I don't love you. I'm like, nonsense, you don't love me. And then we talked about it, but if we hadn't have had that fight, I wouldn't have realised that I conflated food with love. That was
Yeah.
like deep in my unconscious that
Yeah.
I thought that. So that brought that kind of, what do you call it, took the curtain off that belief system that I'd had. And it also taught him how better to love me. Keep food in the fridge or else Jess will get mad.
How often do people project their own love language onto other people?
We assume that our partner will know, that they can just mind read. But they can't.
Do you know what's so funny? Being a coach, whether it's a dating coach, mindset coach, interpersonal relationships, you learn that everyone has different value systems.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're quite intentional about asking to find out what their value systems are. But how often that is not a norm in society? People tend to just project their own one onto someone else and say, because I see the world this way, maybe receiving gifts is my number one love language. I think that's going to be Kev's number one love language. And then therefore I'm sending you gifts to show my love. You're not receiving it in a way that's welcoming because maybe it's low on your list, and then I'm not able to make sense of why it is. Almost like I'm conflating love with gift giving when that might not be what his thing is.
Yeah.
From your experience with like just the lay person, do people tend to really conflate and project their own love language onto other people, or do you feel like people do understand that, you have to get to the root of understanding how someone needs to be loved, not just how you think they need to be loved?
Good question. Yeah, I think most people walk around making assumptions about others. Like, I know a woman who said, I don't want to go on a second date with him. I didn't like his shoes. Literally, I didn't like his shoes. And I thought, seriously?
You weren't coaching that person, were you?
I actually got a question that ties into this. But sorry, keep going.
Oh, perfect.
But okay, in this woman's defense, I wasn't coaching her, she was just a friend of mine. But in her defense, the shoes could have meant, like maybe they were those bright green Nike shoes, and he was a shoe collector, and she didn't like that. She didn't like the association her brain formed about former shoe collectors in the past. Maybe she's a particularly frugal person, and she thought, oh, sneakerheads, they waste a lot of money, and I don't want a guy who wastes money on sneakers. Maybe she didn't even have a conversation with him about that. She just assumed all these things based on previous
She
experiences.
saw a symptom and basically concluded what the root was without actually digging deep to find out, well, why does he have shoes like that?
Yeah, not enough
Well,
people are curious.
This ties into a question I've been wanting to ask you all night.
Keen.
So a question we wanted to ask, not just me, just clarifying for the audience, if you understand why. You've mentioned before that you've seen many Christian women who feel entitled to the best type of man. I feel like this ties into that. Can you explain why that mindset's holding them back?
Wow.
And because I feel like this all plays into that.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Romans 3:23. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Right. Women are hypergamous because of our sinful nature. Myself included.
Because of the sinful nature.
What does hypergamous mean?
Hypergamous. There you go. Okay. Yeah. So hypergamous. His question, then your question. Okay. So hypergamous means women want to marry up. She wants to marry a man who's taller than her, earns more money, is higher status.
Better. Yep.
Who's better than her, who's bigger and who's stronger. I would say, this is my own I guess, surmising, but from the Paleolithic days, our ancestors, like the woman wanted to marry a man who could defeat the lion and protect her and the baby from danger, right? And then find food in the jungle for her and the baby. That's what I deem it to be. And so, am I hypergamous? Yes, I'm also hypergamous as well. I am 5'2", that's my height. And would I date a man shorter than me when I'm single? No. You know why? Because 5'2" is pretty short. Like, if you're shorter than me, it's really short.
What if they're a black belt?
No, short guys, don't watch this, short guys.
Oh, wait. What if they're a black belt in jiu-jitsu? Because I've seen some short guys who
Okay,
could
so
take.
here-
What if his money was tall?
So here is what if his money was
I said, what if his money was tall?
Okay, so
Like the
here's
Lil Wayne
where-
line.
Here's where I got really challenged. So this is way after. This is when Tom and I got engaged. I took this job in sales, and one of my managers was either shorter than me or my height. But his masculinity was so beautiful. I thought if he was single and I was single, and he asked me out on a date, I would totally say yes. Like, this is a man of stature, of character. He's a very impressive guy, and he's a beautiful character. Like, so
Sorry.
I was
go.
really challenged in my own sinful nature that comes out in hypergamy. And so yes, I do think because of the sinful nature, women are hypergamous. And when women start to pursue a Christ-like character and try to undo that kind of like pickiness that's to do with stupid things, like stupid pickiness, not to do with anything real, that actually makes a marriage last, then she starts to open herself up to other things, which doesn't hold her back anymore. Like, I think the pursuit of maturity and Christ-like character, which is very hard to pin down.
Do you feel like guys have the same issue when it comes to how attractive we want our partner to be?
Yes, I would say yes. I think the less experienced the man, the higher and more unrealistic his standards will be. I don't know. I'm willing to be challenged in what I've just said, though.
I wonder if part of it's a self-esteem thing. Because I know when I started dating, I had very low self-esteem, so my standards were actually much lower.
Right.
And I found I was attracting women who I thought were way too attractive for me.
You're way too attractive.
Yeah, and so that's actually increased my standards now. And I think also because I worked on my self-esteem.
So there was, there was a video that Jude, a friend of the show, showed me where a female brought her boyfriend to a park and proceeded to get on one knee and propose to him. And the comment section dragged her, just like completely saying, like, females are like, this is so disgusting to see. I can't believe you'll do this. Even the guys are like, oh, you dropped your balls, kind of thing. Like, just very, very, like, just coming at them for allowing it to happen because she got on one knee. He put his hand out. She put the ring on it. Like, it was the whole.
I think the handout just changes everything, though.
I know, right? When you start with this one here.
Handout!
Oh my goodness.
But, you know, sometimes you do hear about, I've heard, I have a friend who proposed to her man. But that, you know, we're obviously joking with Sathi about, like, you know, he has to make sure that he has a low margin of error right now for keeping the frame. Like, do you feel like if you see a female propose to a guy, like, how do you view that kind of situation? Does your mind explode from, like, how wrong it is, or
I'm
what?
very curious about this.
Is he going to give birth to the baby as well?
Oh my god, yeah.
Clip that? No, but
Oh wow. I feel so sad for that woman. I feel so incredibly sad. My heart just grieves for her at how blue-pilled our society has become, that she thought it was okay to do that. And I can't even remember his name, but there was a dating coach who wrote a book about how it was okay to propose to your man, you know, if you've been talking about marriage anyway. And I was like, no, it is not. No, it is
question,
not.
because I was, me and Drew were going back and forth, and I was saying, like, I would never allow my partner to propose to me. Like, I would just, like, over my dead body. But is it, and it probably is, but, like, is it biblical to say, like, the guy has to be the one to propose?
Yes. Sorry.
The Christ gave himself up for the church, right? So if he's the one going to war, if there was conscription, If he's the one on the front line of the battle, if he's the one protecting her from the lion, if he's the one, what else? Risking his life being a builder or a plumber or another dangerous job that society needs to be functional. Yes, men should be the ones proposing to women.
I just love the idea of the discussion because, say, like in the book of Ruth, where Ruth goes to Boaz in his barn and basically, in a way, I don't know if you would call that a proposal, but like she initiates the idea of telling him to put his covering over her. Mm-hmm. That's something that she initiated, which afterwards he then took the steps necessary to like make it official. But she was the one who was like, hey, can you make this more than what it is? Would you say that it really is a fixed thing that guys need to be the ones to do it, or is there some gray area of it being okay for a woman to initiate?
If he was a vegetable.
Oh wow!
Jess.
It's surprising, man. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
If he was a comatose vegetable.
This is just going wild.
But basically, if he was like physically inept and couldn't move his arms, and she had to put the ring on herself or something, or the ring on him because, I don't know, he physically couldn't move, maybe.
Neuralink.
So what do you think of
No.
what do you think of a biblical situation like with the whole Boaz and Ruth? Are you familiar with that story?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, so yes. But I guess what I'm trying to see to is you've now put a thing in my brain where I need to research what it means for a woman to ask a man to be the kinsman redeemer and to put the covering over her and to say, hey, can we make this more of an official thing than it is? Because the way that I read the Ruth and Boaz story, and it has been a while since I have read it, I do confess, is that she positioned herself so that he would actually notice her and fall in love with her. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that.
Isn't it just dropping the hanky? In a sense, what she's doing?
I think it was I do need to research the historical
I
context.
mean, she dropped some very, I guess I would say, forward requests about what she wants him to do.
But he still has to do it, right?
He still has to do it. But say we're trying to like do a like for like scenario, right?
Yeah.
That female who got on one knee and proposed to the guy.
Yeah.
That's not actually them getting married. That is just an engagement.
But that's still an action though, because she's proposing. She's not saying, "Hey, you want to get married?" I think that's a different thing with Ruth and Boaz. I think Ruth is like, "Hey, you wanna, put the finger over me?"
That's true.
But he has to still do it. The proposal is an action.
Yeah.
It's not just like it's not a suggestion.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So she's expressing interest.
I also think it's leading with a provider-protector mantle. Like, as the one who's going to be the one providing and protecting for you, will you marry me? Like, he's the one proposing to her. Can I protect you for the rest of your life? Can I provide for you for the rest of your life? And so for a woman to ask that of a man, deep sadness fills my heart, because that is not what women were made for. Like, not in God's eyes.
I think it also implies something about the... Maybe I'm being judgy, but I think it does imply something about the man, that she has to be the one to do that.
The lack of initiative.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also wonder, like, could that also just be like a cultural thing as well? Like, for example, let's just say over the next 10 years, that just starts happening heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps. And then now, all of a sudden the culture changes and they're like, oh, well, you know, it's nothing. It could be that as well.
It definitely is a cultural thing. I'm also trying to confirm if it is also a biblical thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think there's argument to say it is a biblical thing that the guy should be the one to initiate it. But that's why I just like to have the discussion of like, is there an exception to it? Is there a gray area to it? Or is this like a very fixed thing? But yeah.
That's a good question.
I thought that was a great question. Very challenging. Yeah.
It's going to get some good reels out of this.
Can I just say that I do think men are exhausted today and they're very displaced as the role of provider. I've recently had builders working on, like, there's some renos happening at my house, and the sheer things, like even the most normal things that they do, moving furniture, you know, like taking off nails off the side of the house. A whole balcony has been torn down. I could not imagine a female doing all those jobs in the hot sun. but these men, these builders, are doing these jobs, and I think it's right that a man is doing these jobs because they're physically stronger and more resilient. Like,
Is it just me, or like, as you're saying that, do you guys just also feel so validated as a man?
Oh,
I just feel so bad. I'm like, someone sees us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do see
I feel
it.
very validated. I think it's also just like highlights this whole. I think our world, like the way that particularly the West is moving, is very divided. This is us versus them mentality. And I just find it weird that men and women I'm just gonna be very crass. We want to root each other. Why are we like so against each other?
Yeah.
Like we're literally getting in the way of what we want. We want to like be together. Yeah, we have this like, oh, you make more money than me, you're privileged, and
Yeah.
oh, you're entitled, and I have to pay for everything. Like, why are we so? I don't know. It's weird that we're antagonistic to each other, but because we want to be together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's just
Very,
kinda
very
bugs me
love-hate
out.
relationship, isn't it?
It's just
Yeah.
weird. It actually just is weird. Why are we?
I love you, so
Like-
I hate you.
I don't know. Like, if you're like, I love women. Women are great. Like, yeah, they're annoying sometimes, but so are men. Like, I'm annoying too. Like, I'm an idiot. Like,
Yeah. Well, women's and men's mating strategies are adversarial by nature, right? Because a woman, basically wants to trap a man. Oh, that sounds terrible. Okay, let me start again. A woman.
No, you had it right the first time. Trapping.
Okay, so this is another Rollo Tomasi paraphrase, but he says, if a woman marries at 30 and the man marries at 34, which is roughly the age that Tom and I were married, I was 31, he was 34, I think. But I am coming out of my sexual marketplace value peak. Like, I am peaking downwards, whereas he is peaking upwards. Because men peak at age 37, whereas women peak at age 23. The whole masculinity is forged, femininity is preserved. So I'm trying to, like, get married before I get ugly. And he's trying to, and he, if he marries me, then he gives up all these other options that he could have. Not that he'd be Leonardo DiCaprio being 50 and, getting jiggy with a 23-year-old or something. But it is a sacrifice for a man when he marries younger. And a lot of men don't think this. Rollo says that it's because this man is blue-pilled and he has severe inexperience with women, which I do kind of agree with. But yeah, so like, whereas a man, if he were to follow like the godfather of the red pill's advice to go and spin plates and be like his most money muscles game version of himself, red pill jacked up version of himself, he would have a harem of women and would enjoy his sexual freedom. So yeah, I think that's why there's a bit of a war against women and men that's like sort of humming, maybe not humming in the background so much anymore, like maybe it's blatant and out there.
some trumpets now.
It's just trumpets sounding now. But also women are really confused because of the feminist movement. We don't want to be seen as just, I don't want to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. And now that every millennial woman that I'm a millennial woman, like born in 88, I'm nearly 37. Like for me, it was so ingrained in me to prove to everybody how capable and how smart I was. I had to prove to everyone how like I was more than just a wife and a mother. And then I became a wife and a mother, and I was like, damn, being a wife and a mother is really hard. That I'm okay to just be a wife and a mother. But I need the intellectual stimulation of my own business and my own. But that was a Proverbs 31 woman anyway. She was entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
She sewed for her servant girls and gave them. Anyway, I don't know how to quote that right now, but you know what I mean. Like, she was
absolutely.
multifaceted anyway. Of
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
women are.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but this was her core, like her being like a housewife and like
Yes.
yeah, for sure.
And the feminist movement lied to women, especially women who don't yet have had the privilege of being married to a beautiful man and having kids, is how hard it is to raise children, how hard it is to raise the next generation. It is an all-consuming, all-encompassing job. I'm a mother of two. I know Kevin's a father of two. He knows. That also, his wife is one that designed his beautiful office. Lisa, shout out
Thank
to
you,
Yeah,
thank
sure.
you.
But,
I still can't believe. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
right? But being just a wife and a mother is more than okay. It is probably the most needed job for women right now, and that is why the birth rate is plummeting. Because women have been lied to.
Well, speaking of birth rates, and what leads to birth rates, if you know what I mean. We got 2 more questions to run through before we wrap up.
Yeah.
But the purity movement.
Yeah.
So you talked a bit about this, but the purity movement encouraged abstinence before marriage, which is biblical. We all believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But how did it miss the mark when preparing singles for marriage? I feel like this is a very spicy question.
Yeah, I love to say, that phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And when the single is ready, the spouse will appear. That's what it taught. That's what purity culture taught. I Kissed Dating Goodbye by Joshua Harris, written in 1997. And then the True Love Waits movement by the Southern Baptist Church, all of that. And purity rings. It was a thinly veiled prosperity doctrine. Right. That if you wait for marriage for sex, then you will have an amazing sex life. Now, I believe in saving sex for marriage. I do. Did I buy into that a bit? Yes, I did. However, I was always realistic that my sex life with my husband, after being a virgin for 31 years, was not going to be amazing straight out of the gate. Like with anything, like with marriage, Kevin, to have a great marriage, you've got to work at it. To have a great sex life, you've got to work at it. And so now there are all these Christians who are getting married with loads of sexual issues and going, God lied to me. Going, God, it's your fault that this is happening. When it's just a rule of life that if you want to be good at something, you've got to work at it. Like if you want to be good at dating, you've got to be good at women.
See, I thought they'd be excited about that. It means you just have to have more sex.
Sorry, what?
I thought they'd just be more excited about that. It means you just have to have more sex.
Yeah, you just have someone to practice with.
Yeah.
Well, the guy's always having fun anyway.
The guys.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Maybe there's a bit more educational material. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no male privilege there. I mean, no, there is male privilege there. That was a terrible joke. Let's edit that out. Don't edit it out. It's okay. Leave it there.
But are males really privileged? Anyway, no, I won't go.
Ooh, okay.
Because I don't think that they are.
Well, we can get to race as well. Because it's... Anyway,
You're going to open up a can of worms before we even have time to dive into that
let's talk about white man's
discussion.
privilege. But that's maybe for another episode.
Yeah.
But
Watch this space. Yeah.
watch this space. Yeah, is there anything that you guys want to add to that, the purity movement? Because I had one thing, but I wanted to see if... Do you have anything, Josh?
I mean, I think you go first. There's nothing that I have to add on. Maybe yours is a better take.
I like that you called it a prosperity gospel because I never thought of it like that, but 100% is. Because I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it says, if you wait, you'll have like the best sex life. And I think it ties into a bigger issue of people just not being like rooted in the word. So again, I wonder if this is a Pentecost. Maybe there's an Anglican. I don't know.
You would blame it on the Pentecostals.
I don't know. I sound like I bag out everyone. Like,
You do. You bag on
I think
everyone.
Pentecostals do a lot of things right as well. Like I'd probably lean more towards that way now, to be fair. However, I've noticed that it's this whole thing of like maybe pastors or whoever's at the pulpit sharing these. I don't know what you call it. Like,
Do pastors even get up at the pulpit and say, "Hey, if you wait till marriage, your sex life's going to be better"?
well,
Like,
I mean,
don't-
who was I guess who was promoting purity culture? I imagine it would have been pastors, right?
Nah,
Like, this is like
to a
early
certain
2000s,
degree,
right?
like you did kind of hear that. Like I did when they did sexual purity for us. Like, yeah, they did kind of say that.
Do you still hear it now?
No, now it's different. But purity culture's kind of died out now. But I feel like do you reckon, Jess, or do you reckon it's still a thing?
Have you guys watched that video where it's like virginity is?
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. I was like, oh man.
Can I just say, people who have had sex before they were married, like when I talk to my married couple friends, and they say, we had sex before we were married and we don't recommend it. And then the people who are saying, we didn't have sex before we were married and we really struggled in our first years of marriage. So it's like, Thomas Sowell, my favourite quote in the world, in life there are no solutions, only trade-offs. So if you wait till you're married, then you trade memories of former sexual partners, which you don't have because you're a virgin, for probably years of bad sex until the sex gets really good with your spouse.
Yeah.
So I'd rather that problem than the problem of all this trauma and memories of being used by random men at parties because I gave my body up too early. Like,
I love it. That's a bar. In life, there's just trade-offs. I completely agree. Yeah. And I think one of the challenges I've seen that Christians sometimes apply to the Christian life is that they think that because you follow God, it's meant to be easy.
No.
Like,
Christian life is much harder.
ease isn't guaranteed with it. What you do know is you're aligned with what you believe God wants for your life. And that is where that reward, that fulfillment comes from, not from it being an easy task. But people, they want that easy way. They want that shortcut.
They want the path of least resistance.
You know, and they think
Yeah.
that God's gonna be like Santa Claus. If I obey him, I check these lists, then he's gonna I'm on the good list. I'm gonna get all the good presents for Christmas. Like, nah. You still got some coals that you need to properly deal with. So
That's a lot of your job, isn't it? Jess, we were talking about this, breaking unrealistic expectations. Yeah.
I've gone through this phase. I've been telling Kevin about telling clients the truth. And I'm really scared because my nature is to give everyone a Care Bear. I'm like, I hate it. I hate it when clients are crying and telling me that they're despairing. They despair even life. Like, it's awful.
yeah, Kevin, he'll break the mold for them.
But the truth is necessary for them to get to what they actually want.
Yeah.
And
The truth
So-
will set you free,
No,
but it'll
not-
piss you off.
Yeah, but it'll piss you off first. Yeah.
Yeah.
But eventually, the truth is actually far more beautiful.
yeah.
It's like what you were saying, like, oh well, sex is just going to be amazing from the first go, but like sometimes you work at it and then it's just far more extraordinary afterwards.
Yeah, you
know?
build a deeper connection, I imagine.
Yeah,
Like,
through all that,
you
because all
build
those
it-
benefits
yeah.
come out of that, building the
Yeah.
deeper connection, going
Like-
through the ups and downs. It's like, I genuinely, this is what I think, this is a different topic, but this is what I genuinely think is love. I don't think love is actually infatuation, which is a feeling that you get. I think love is right now. There's a point where I would not have said this, but now I think about, and it took me a long time, maybe 6 years after, if Lisa's body was completely just burned to life because she got into an accident, right? And because I've kind of replayed this scenario many times. It's like, I would take care of her till the day I die. Like, I would. And for me, yeah, that's what it is. I think love is like, it's like through all the ups and downs, through everything that we've been through, all the ups and downs together, I love you, and no matter what, I will take care of you, no matter what you give me. Like, that's what I love. That's what love is.
Yeah.
True
Yeah.
commitment.
Yeah.
And that's more beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's more meaningful. It's more powerful than a cheap high that you get from infatuation.
Yes.
You know, so
And the premarital sex that you do as a result of the infatuation.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah.
You're attracted and there's chemistry in the moment. And
yeah.
yeah.
So it's like you'll be breaking all these unrealistic expectations, but it's like they also have to realize it's actually really good for them as well.
Yeah.
It's actually going to help them in the future as well so much. It's better that way is the point I'm making.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Speaking of truth, we got one more question for you, Jess. It's been a great podcast. We really enjoyed this.
Really good. Really good.
Speaking of truth, what are Christian men exclusively doing that's getting them results?
Ooh.
Yeah, what's the truth there?
Okay, so Christian men are overcoming rejection. So they're taking action, which is how they best learn.
Wow.
They're taking action, and no matter the outcome, they re-look at the drawing board and they go, okay, what could I have done better? What worked? What didn't work? They analyze, and then they get back out there again and they try again. And that constant, SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, constant SWOT analysis of their dating life is what will get them results in the end. And then just this, I will never give up. I will continue to search for my spouse until I find her. That you have to have that determination. Tony
The
Robbins says.
proper sales mentality.
I have a question add on to that.
Yeah.
Is it also that I'll never give up on a Christian woman? Because I'm not going to lie. There are times where I have the thought of like, maybe I should just like go pagan.
This is part of
Yeah.
the roller coaster ride of being single.
Yeah.
Your faith starts to get tested. And
It
you're
really
like,
does,
Is
yeah.
it really worth me pursuing somebody who is equally yoked, Lord? Or should I just settle for a woman who would be easier to attain? Because you just start to wonder if it's worth it, and then you start looking at stats and you start going, well, in the last 2022 Australian Bureau of Statistics census data, there are less Christian women anyway. So what's the chances of me getting one? Like
So
you
your
start-
pool's
Yeah, and
low,
then-
and finding one that you're compatible with and have chemistry with is that pool just keeps on shrinking, smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're getting older and older and older.
And yet Christians are marrying Christians. And yet it's happening. So
Yeah.
and you're not going to marry five of these women. You're not going to take 5 women away from the pool. You're only dating. You're only going to marry one.
Yeah.
So I hope that is hopeful as well. Tony Robbins says, "We don't get what we want. We get what we absolutely have to have."
I was going to say,
Love that mentality.
I always use this example when all my clients give me excuses. Oh, I can't do this. And I said, brother, if I put a gun to your head and you got 3 years, you're going to do it. You will figure it out. If I put a gun to your head and you're a male and you got to figure it out, you will figure it out.
Yeah.
Like full stop. You know what I mean?
Love you,
Maybe
said,
not in the
brother.
best way first, but then yeah.
So no, that's cool. It's I like how you bring in that masculine element as well. That's really important.
Yeah. And hiring me, obviously.
Well, I think
That's the secret sauce.
That's the good ratio, right?
we gotta make this app, Jess.
Oh,
We gotta get it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it? Yours? Yours?
Yeah,
Yay!
No one steal that idea.
I want 10% of it though. Yeah, share some of that equity of the idea.
You get
Yeah.
10% of it when you put 10%.
You get a good
in.
ratio.
I did.
Voting
I
it right
clapped.
now.
That's 2%.
I encouraged you.
I need more claps. But speaking of hiring Jess, we're actually we're about to wrap up. But Jess, where can people find you if they want to get married?
Well,
Not as in they want to marry you, as in you'll help them get married.
Yep.
Just to specify.
Well, assuming I'm so grateful to be on this show, boys. I've had so much fun. This has been such a flow of energy and conversation, and we're so like-minded and aligned. So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
But for those of you listening, you might be washing the dishes right now or doing something else. So the quickest way is to just find me on Instagram _dateability. So date DATE ability ABILITY or one word. And just DM me the word ready if you want to access the matchmaking form. So if you're a man, I only have men as my matchmaking clients because I believe that men are active participants. They learn through action. So what I will do for you is I can offer you this matchmaking and coaching program, this high-touch matchmaking coaching program. You don't have to use an app ever again. You don't have to deal with the nonsense of like, is this the right photo? What is this the right opener? Some cheesy prompts on a Hinge app. You don't have to deal with any of that because I'm going to actually get to know you, and it will be a really high-touch experience where I get to know you, your values, who you are, what you're about, and what kind of woman you're looking for, even down to what ethnicities you find most attractive in women, how tall you want her to be, like all of that. I'm not judgmental about that at all because I get that people have their unshakable preferences. However, there's a coaching component to this that every woman I match you with, and I'll match you with 5, every woman I match you with, I'll get feedback from her, and then I'll bring that back to you respectfully. And we're going to talk about the feedback that she gave you, whether there's things we need to do a SWOT analysis about, or whether you just need to keep doing what you're doing. And that's the coaching component, because that is where I might be confronting you on your BS, but I hope that you feel really safe to disagree with me if you need to, and that we can go back and forth to make you the most romantically intelligent man that ever saw this earth. But totally your version of you, the most Christ-like version of you. And I hope to find your fiance within a 12-month period. And after the 3 hours of coaching with me is up, I'll still be matching you. You'll be with me on WhatsApp. We'll have a coach-client relationship. You can text me when you're feeling down, when you're like, is romance even real? I will send you a VM. It's exactly what I'm doing with my clients all over Australia, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, Sydney. Got clients everywhere. And so matching you with 5 women, and then coaching, matching until we find your fiance over a 12-month period. Women, if you are interested in what I do and in my work, you can access the matchmaking form for women also by DMing me the word ready. And if you're interested in being on the list for matchmaking, because women, I need you too, you don't have to pay a cent, right? You don't have to pay a cent. You can just fill out the matchmaking form. Also, I advertise on Matchmaker Monday, #Matchmaker Monday, of all the men in my cohort that have asked me to find women for them. Because I'll probably interview you, ask you what you're about. I'll probably see what your compatibility level is with one of my men. And if not, that's okay. You'll still be on my list. and I'll reach out to you if I do find somebody who fits your criteria. So that is what I'm offering. DM me the word ready, or in the show notes, there'll be links to the men's and women's matchmaking forms, respectfully.
Yeah. Now, just really quickly, as a life coach and as someone who has heard a lot about like poor coaches in the industry, I personally and massively endorse Jess as well, because one thing that I see is that she genuinely cares, and I've actually met her audience. I've done some work with the audience and who she speaks with, and man, they all have incredible things to say about her. She's got incredible results as well. She's confidential. She'll help you. I really endorse you, Jess. So for me, whenever I refer people to you, I don't even have too much of the mindset of I'm helping you. I feel genuinely like I'm helping them. Right? So massive endorsement to Jess. Yep. Yeah. Poya, take away. Finish it off.
Yeah. Well, we got one. Oh wait, no, sorry, I got it wrong. We're good. I'm so tired. It's like I'm fried. But despite being tired, we've had so much fun having you on, Jess.
Yes.
You're one of our favorites.
Yes.
I was so excited for tonight. I was like, I hate Mondays, but I'm like, we're gonna have a podcast with Jess. And can I just add to what Kevin said? Absolutely endorse Jess as well. If any of my female friends listening, I'd probably try to like get you to get onto Jess. Just do it. Like, just stop playing games. But anyway, that's all I've got.
Just be single for the rest of your life.
just enjoy owning multiple cats and having to feed them instead of your children. Okay? Make a reel out of that.
I had 7 client marriages last year alone, with 4 engagements and 2 new relationships.
Huge.
So, and it's not just the result. I teach you about secure attachment, about what 3 things that women should not compromise on and men should not compromise on, how to have that healthy relationship, all of that.
Awesome. Cool.
Yep. All right, signing out. Sorry. Woo!
Love you guys. It's been amazing. See you later.
See ya.
Like,